The Genesis War. Chapter 1. The Dying Star. The world of Sirius B was dying. Once a jewel in the cosmos, its once radiant star had begun to fade, its heart slowly cooling into the inescapable void of death. Ra-Kael, the youngest of the high elders of his race, stood on the balcony of the great temple, watching the dimming light of the once glorious sun. His people, the Caithari, were a highly advanced species. They had mastered genetics, artificial intelligence, and space travel long before their neighboring systems had even begun to evolve. But now, the inevitable end was near. Their resources, including precious gold necessary for their advanced technology, had been exhausted. Without gold, their ships couldn't travel, their energy systems would fail, and their culture, once a beacon of enlightenment, would slip into ruin. Ra-Kael, Ra-Kael's thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of his brother, Tal Kathor. Tall, broad, and stern, Tal Kathor's face was carved from stone, his eyes a pale silver gleaming with the cold logic that ruled his soul. "You stand here, wasting time," Tal Kathor said, his voice flat. "Our time on this world is short. We need to leave. If we don't find a solution soon, we will all perish." Ra-Kael turned to face him. The younger of the two, Ra-Kael had always been more introspective, more open to change, while Tal Kathor clung to the old ways, pragmatic and unyielding. "I have found a solution, Tal Kathor," Ra-Kael said quietly. "There's a planet nearby, a primitive world called Earth. It has gold. It has all the gold we need and more. Its creatures, they're malleable. We can shape them to serve." Tal Kathor's eyes narrowed. "You want to enslave them?" Ra-Kael shook his head. No, not just to serve. They have potential. We can create something greater than mere tools. They could be more than workers. They could evolve into something more. Tal Kathor scoffed. "You speak of them as if they're equals. They are nothing but animals in the dirt. We are Caithari, gods among lesser beings. They will do as we command, nothing more." Ra-Kael's gaze softened. He had seen what his brother had not. The flickering spark of intelligence in the creatures of Earth, the potential to grow beyond their primitive nature. "We will see," Tal Kathor replied. "We will see." Chapter 2. The Creation of a New Race. Ra-Kael and Tal Kathor arrived on Earth in a vast starship, descending through the atmosphere as their vessel's engines hummed quietly. They had chosen a time before any intelligent species had risen, before humanity existed. Earth was teeming with life. Massive beasts roamed the jungles, and primitive creatures scuttled through the wilds. But there were no beings yet capable of complex thought, no civilizations to stand in their way. Ra-Kael watched the planet with a mix of awe and anticipation. It was a world brimming with possibilities. The Caithari set to work immediately, using their advanced genetic technology to experiment on the planet's primitive hominids. They would create a new species, genetically engineered to mine the gold they so desperately needed. At first, Ra-Kael had planned only to build a race of mindless workers, but as they altered the genes of these beings, he found himself conflicted. As they had intelligence, the ability to reason, form emotions. There was something inside them that called to him, something familiar. Ra-Kael begin altering their DNA in ways that would push them toward greater intelligence. He ensured they were stronger, more resilient, but also capable of independent thought. Over time, their intelligence blossomed, and with it, their consciousness. The first of these newly created humans, however, were not fully aware of their origins. They labored without question in the vast underground mines. Their purpose clear: to extract gold for their creators. Chapter 3: The Spark of Rebellion. Generations passed, and the human race, although engineered to be subservient, began to show signs of discontent. A woman named Elan rose among them. She was strong, resilient, and sharp. Over time, she began to ask questions. Why did they toil in the darkness while mining gold for the Caithari? Why were they forced to serve with no knowledge of their purpose? One day, while working in the deep mines, Elan discovered a strange artifact, an alien device, left behind by their creators. It was a communication tool, and as she touched it, a message flashed across the screen. It was a message from Raquel. He had been watching her, and he knew that she had begun to understand the truth. You are more than tools, Raquel's voice echoed through the device. I gave you life to mine gold, yes, but you have the potential for more. You are not slaves, and I will help you. Elan's heart raced. Could it be true? Had they truly been created for something greater? Raquel's words spread like wildfire among the humans. They began to question everything. They stopped obeying without thought. Instead, they began to organize, to dream of freedom. But Tal Cathor could not let this go unchallenged. Chapter 4: The War for Freedom. Tal Cathor had been aware of his brother's growing attachment to the humans for some time. He viewed them as nothing more than tools, resources to be used and discarded. And now, as Raquel's influence grew among the humans, Tal Cathor saw it as a threat. You would allow them to rise up? Tal Cathor confronted his brother. They are nothing more than animals. If you let them think they are equals, they will destroy everything we've worked for. Raquel's gaze hardened. I do not believe they will destroy anything. They are capable of so much more than we ever gave them credit for. They deserve a future, Tal Cathor. Tal Cathor's eyes glinted with malice. Then you have chosen your side. He raised his hand, activating a command that sent waves of mind control signals to the humans. He bent them against each other, sowing division, turning them into pawns in his game. The humans fractured. Some remained loyal to Raquel and the idea of freedom, while others, under the influence of Tal Cathor's manipulation, turned on their fellow humans. War erupted among them, a brutal conflict between the newly awakened and those who still believe in their subjugation. Raquel fought in the shadows, guiding Elan and those who wished for liberation. He taught them how to fight, how to resist the mind control signals, and how to overcome the weapons of their creators. But Tal Cathor was relentless. He spread chaos, forcing the humans to war against each other, using their newly awakened intelligence to fuel the fires of division. Chapter 5: The Final Battle. The war reached its climax in the heart of the Caithari stronghold. Raquel stood face to face with his brother, the conflict between them now inevitable. You are a fool, Raquel, Tal Cathor spat. You would destroy everything for these creatures. You've forgotten who we are. We are the gods, the masters of the universe. Raquel's voice was steady but filled with sorrow. I never wanted to destroy anything, but they are not just animals. They are something more. They can rise above their purpose as slaves. The two brothers clashed. Their powers were nearly equal, but Raquel fought with the conviction of one who knew the price of freedom. Talcathor fought to preserve the older order, to keep humanity in chains. The battle was fierce, but in the end, Raquel prevailed. With a single strike, Talcathor fell to the ground, defeated. As Raquel stood over his brother's body, he felt no joy in the victory. It had cost too much, too many lives, too much destruction. But in that moment, he knew it was the only way. He turned to Elan, who stood with the other free humans, her face a mixture of fear and awe. "It is done," Raquel said, his voice heavy. "You are free." Epilogue: A New Dawn. With Talcathor's death, Caithari's influence over the humans was broken. The remaining Caithari forces, leaderless and disorganized, fled the planet, leaving the humans to rebuild their world. The humans, now free, began to forge their own society. Some still remembered Raquel as a savior. Others saw him as a fallen god, but all understood one thing: they had been born to be free. As they looked to the stars, they knew their journey had only just begun. They were no longer slaves. They were free beings, capable of shaping their own destiny. Raquel's legacy lived on in the hearts of those he had freed, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always the potential for a new beginning. The end.